Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing a video sharing concealed carry tips specifically for moms. In case you're brand new here, welcome. My name is Stav. If you like what you see here today, please make sure to subscribe if you haven't done so already because it really supports my channel. Also, follow me on Instagram because I post on there quite a bit, and that's usually the way I interact with you guys the most. In fact, for this video, I posted a question on there asking moms who follow me for things that make it harder for them to carry a gun or maybe even stop them from carrying one altogether. So make sure you're following me on there. And just to give you a little background on myself, I am a stepmom to two wonderful young men. I don't have any biological children of my own, but I've been taking care of kids, it seems, for most of my life. I was a nanny for a while. I helped raise my nephew, and kids have just always kind of been a part of my life. So I love kids, and I feel that as their caretakers, it is our responsibility to protect them. And that's gonna go into the first thing that I want to talk about. In case you are new here and you haven't heard about my Armed and Confident Academy, I'm hoping to launch it February 1st. So please click the link below to join the wait list for when I do launch my course. It's gonna be an all online course, and it's gonna go more into some of the things that we're talking about here today, plus a lot more that will get you comfortable with making a gun a part of your daily life. So make sure you join the waitlist so you don't miss when the course launches. Let's talk about responsibility. That's the first thing I want to get into here. Whether you're a biological mother or a stepmother or a nanny or an aunt or someone who watches children, we are their guardians. They're not able to protect themselves the way that we can. And so it's our responsibility to make sure that we're able to defend them if we need to. Some of you might know that my channel name comes from Proverbs 31, which describes the wife of noble character. And that whole passage is describing this woman and kind of gives us an ideal of what we should be striving for as women. And so my channel name, She Equips Herself, comes from that passage. But there's another verse in that passage that says, "She is clothed with strength and dignity, and she laughs without fear of the future." And to me, what that means is that as women who are responsible, we should not be afraid of the future, but we should have strength and be able to deal with whatever comes our way. So it's our responsibility to be able to handle things. It's our responsibility to have the knowledge and to be capable enough to defend our children and ourselves and our homes. I think that in today's culture, and depending on which state you live in especially, we often want to outsource our safety to someone else. So you think that if something happens to you, you'll just call the police and they'll come rescue you. But unfortunately, the police can't be with you all the time, and they're usually responding to a situation that's already happening. So it's better if we have the tools and the confidence to be able to handle things when they're happening, especially if your children are in danger. If you think about bears, a mother bear does not look for someone else to come help her if her babies are in danger. She's the one that gets in there and jumps into action and defends her babies. We think of mama bears as being fierce and able to defend their young, and that's what we should be as mothers, stepmothers, caretakers, whatever we are. These are all my holsters. So let's talk about some stuff here. As a mom, safety is probably your biggest concern when it comes to carrying with your kids around. We're afraid that our kids are going to come in contact with our gun. You want the firearm to be inaccessible to them. I know we've all heard horror stories of a kid getting into a mom's purse and then something terrible happens. So we don't want that to be us, which means that we need to take precautions. So let's talk about holsters. So here you really need to consider your lifestyle and your specific situation. For example, my stepsons are almost 8 and 10. So they're not being held by me all the time. In fact, one of them is almost bigger than me. So that's not a concern for me. If you have toddlers and babies and kids that require being held a lot, then you need to consider how they'll interact with your holster as you're holding them. I really like to wear belly band style holsters like this, or my corset like this. And if you have a baby or a toddler on your body all the time, then these might not be good options for you unless you get a trigger guard put in. And I made a video showing how I put a trigger guard in my belly bands, and I'll put that right up here so that you guys can click on it and watch it if you'd like. So it is possible to modify these holsters to make them safer if you have someone who's going to be touching it and moving against it all the time. Same with the corset holster. This one actually has a trigger guard in it right there. You can see it in the pocket there, so that does have protection there. But if you're going to be wearing a belly band style holster, something soft like this, or even concealed carry leggings or something like that where there's no specific trigger guard, that might be a bad choice for you if you have a child that's constantly bumping up against your holster. You might want something like this where it's Kydex on the outside, so it has this hard shell, and no matter how they bump against it, your trigger is always going to be protected. And something like this is really easy to throw on. This is by Ultimate Holsters, and it just sticks to the fabric of your pants with that clip right there, like that. Now I'm just going to take my blue training gun here. This is just a piece of plastic that's shaped like my M&P shield, which is what I carry. So that just goes in the holster. It clicks in there. You can hear it when it clicks. So it's in there really secure. The trigger is protected by the Kydex shell on the outside. So something like that might be better for you if you have babies and toddlers who are rubbing up against this part of your body all the time. You want something really hard and sturdy there rather than just a fabric holster. So that's gonna take you considering what you do in your daily life with your kids and whether or not you're holding them or they're old enough where you don't hold them like that anymore. And that also goes with like wrestling. Like boys love to wrestle and roughhouse. If you come home and your kids wanna wrestle with you, then you don't want a gun on your body while you're wrestling and playing around with your kids. Whether you have a holster like this where it's really secure, you still wouldn't want it to like come out by accident when you're wrestling with them. So you might want to take your gun off and put it in a safe when you're home. And that's when home safety comes into play, and having a home defense plan and having guns accessible in your home but away from your children, which is something that Mac and I talked about in a video that we did on home defense. So that's a whole other plan you need to have. Just keep in mind the way you and your kids interact day to day and how much contact they'd have with a gun that would be on your body. Let's talk a little bit about purses, because I know that purses can be a really great way to carry in certain situations, and they can be really bad in other situations. So if you're a mom and maybe you're pregnant or you're wearing a long winter coat, you want to carry in a bag because it's easier to access your gun and it's more comfortable for you. Fine. You have to keep in mind that a kid can get in here pretty easily. If I have my gun tucked away in that pocket, in the back of this purse, there's a pocket here with a holster in it. So if I have my gun tucked away in there, I want to be the only one that has access to this. I don't want my kids to be able to get to it, which means I have to have it with me all the time. I cannot leave it in the passenger seat of my car and run into the store while they're in the car. I can't put it in the shopping cart and have them be able to reach in there and grab it. It's your responsibility to be the only one that can get to this. And if someone else is trying to get to it, like your kid, they can't because you're there to stop them. This is a great solution sometimes for certain carry situations, but it can also be really dangerous. So definitely keep that in mind. I know some of you are worried about carrying in a bag. A draw from a bag can be really fast. Mac and I did a video where he pretended to attack me and I had to time my draw and it was really fast. So if you practice from a bag, you can get really fast. But you have to be really diligent when you're carrying a bag, especially around kids. When you come home from the grocery store and you're carrying in all the bags, you might want to take this and just put it on a chair in the kitchen, but your kids can get to it and that's no good. So you have to be really diligent about knowing where this is and having it directly on your body at all times. And when you're not using it, to take the gun out and put it in a safe somewhere. Put it somewhere where your kids can't get to it. I want to take a second to talk about pepper spray, because if you can't carry a gun on your body for some reason, or even if you are, I think everyone should be carrying pepper spray. So this is just my favorite one. It's a palm pepper spray. It has a clip here so it's easy to pop into your pocket or somewhere where you can get to it quickly. It also has this flip cap here with a trigger underneath. So this is a really easy tool you can just grab and go. Whether you're carrying a gun or not, I think that you should always have a pepper spray on your body, and that's a great option for moms and pretty much everybody. So I'll link these below in case you guys want to get one. I do have a discount code for POM. So if we have our guns in a safe place where our kids can't get to them, that means that we need to be able to access them, even though they're in a safe place where your kids can't get to them. You want to be able to access them. So what that means to me is that when I'm home, I'm probably not going to have a gun directly on my body. Sometimes I do, but most of the time I don't. But I always have one within a few seconds reach. You want to place guns strategically in your home in places where you can get to them fast, in a quick access safe, but where the kids can't get to them. And some of you asked me, what do you do with a gun in the car? My number one place for a gun in the car is on my body. And yes, that might make the draw more difficult sometimes, depending on how you're carrying. You might need to prep your gun a little bit by pulling your shirt up a bit so that you can get to it if you needed to. I know I've seen those magnets and things where you can just stick your gun to a magnet under your dashboard, but if you got into a car accident, I don't know where that gun would end up. So that's not really something that I would do. Again, that's personal preference, but I would rather have my gun directly on my body in case something happens and I need to get out of the car real fast and I don't have time to grab my gun. I just would not want it to be anywhere else. So directly on your body in the car would be my advice, but that's a personal choice that you have to make. Just make sure that your kids cannot get to it at all, no matter where you put it. The next thing I want to talk about is awareness, because if we can avoid dangerous situations, that's the best case scenario. Just because we have guns, that doesn't mean that we want to use them. I know I don't. I don't ever want to have to use my gun, but I'm glad that I have it in case I do. So when you're out with your kids, you want to have your head on a swivel, be paying attention to what's going on around you. I don't know if you've heard of the Cheshire murders that happened in Connecticut. Oh. There's a bug in my light. Ooh. Basically what happened is a mother and her daughter, who I think was an early teen, were shopping at a grocery store and two men saw them and followed them home, so they knew where they lived. Then they came back later and did terrible things to their family, tied up their dad, and then burned their house, and the only survivor was the dad. It was really terrible. That story just always reminds me how important it is to pay attention, because they didn't notice they were being followed or noticed at the store. And I know that it can be distracting, especially when you're shopping with kids at a grocery store. There's so much going on and they're trying to put things in the cart that you don't want them to put in the cart, and they're not listening, and you're trying to check off things on your list. But awareness can save you from so many bad situations, and just practicing good situational awareness is key, especially when there are little people depending on you. If you take them to the movies or the library or wherever, just know what's going on around you, notice who's around you, know how to get out of there fast if you need to, and hopefully that will save you from any danger where you'd need to actually get to your gun, or would at least give you a heads up so that you could respond to the situation faster. One of the most important things that you can do as a mother for your children when it comes to firearms is teach them safety. And a lot of people ask, what's the right age to teach my child about firearm safety? I think that it's a very personal choice depending on the maturity of your child, but you can start as early as they can understand it. Kids by nature are just very curious. So if you're hiding information from them about guns, and you have guns in the home but you haven't told them what they are, but they know there's something in that closet they're not supposed to touch, they might go looking for it. If you're upfront about it and you tell them what it is, there are some great resources out there. I'll link some books down below that help you talk to your children about firearm safety in an age-appropriate way. But I think it's very important to educate your children. If they have questions, answer them. Just be upfront about it. I think that guns have become so stigmatized now, where years ago they weren't. It was just a normal part of daily life, and kids were used to having firearms in the home, and they knew that they were tools and not something that couldn't be talked about. I think that when you make something secretive like that, where they can't even ask about it, or you don't talk to them about it, it makes them wonder about it more. Whereas if you teach them how to be safe with them, you take them to the range if they're old enough, and you show them how to safely use a gun, how to keep their finger off the trigger until they're gonna shoot, how to point it in a safe direction at all. When I let this go, it's gonna push it right to here so you can shoot it. So you do that, and now it's right here. So it's ready to shoot now. So remember to keep your finger off the trigger until you're ready. Okay, so first
So we'll fly out here?
the bullet's gonna fly out of here, and then that gold part, that's gonna come out of the side. Get your arms up here so you have a nice steady platform. And make sure you can see the red dot on the target. And to teach them, if they ever come across a gun, to leave it alone and get an adult. There won't be this big mystery around it, so that if, God forbid, you ever did leave your gun out, which you really should not do, But if you did and your kid came across it, they wouldn't hurt themselves or someone else, they'd come get you. I always think that more education is beneficial. They might go to a friend's house and there's a gun around. I know we've all heard those horror stories where a kid goes to a friend's house and someone gets really hurt or killed. I know the NRA has a really great program for teaching kids about firearm safety called the Eddie Eagle program, so I'll link information for that below as well. Yeah, educating them is number one, because if you do pick them up and they touch your gun, or you're hugging them and they touch your gun, there's not going to be this big mystery around it, and you'll have taught them that it's not theirs to touch. Someone on Instagram mentioned, the only thing I worry about is my kids announcing I have a gun when they feel it on me. That happened before with Mac, with one of our sons, but now he knows not to announce it that way. The more that you talk to them about what it is and what it's for, and educate them on the fact that they shouldn't be announcing things like that out in public, the more they'll understand and they won't be so curious and feel the need to do things like that. I think that's something that moms neglect a lot, is themselves. And when it comes to guns, that means training. Maybe you got your license before you had kids, and now you have kids and you haven't been to the range in months or years because it's just not a priority. But if you're carrying a gun and you want to be able to defend your children or yourself, that means that you need to train, and you need to make time for that. That might mean that you need to get a sitter one night, or have your partner watch the kids while you go train at the range or go to a class. It needs to be a priority, because if you don't practice, then your skills are gonna fall apart and you're not gonna be able to perform if you ever need to. Another thing about kids is that if there's ever some sort of dangerous situation, they're gonna run to you for safety. So if you're having to deal with a situation where you need to fire your gun, the kids are gonna be scared and they're gonna wanna cling to you. So if you can't get out of there, try to get your kids as far away from you as possible, which means you might actually have to like push them away or throw them out of the way, move them behind you, do something to get them out of harm's way. And you should probably also train a lot with one hand, because if you're carrying a kid or you're pushing away a kid, you're gonna have one hand available. And so it's important to know how to use one hand to do all your shooting. And I know that a lot of us don't train that way because it's uncomfortable, but it's important. So next time you're at the range or you're practicing your dry fire, practice with one hand, especially if you have kids that you carry around or are responsible for. So if her birthday's coming up, get her a training class. I think that would make a great gift. Someone asked what to do about lead exposure while you're pregnant. So lead exposure is bad for anybody. That's why we have to be really careful about washing our hands with cold soapy water right after we shoot, and trying to keep the lead levels in our blood to a minimum. If you shoot, especially indoors a lot, that level's gonna rise and it's not good for your body. So if you're pregnant, you don't want that stuff in your body. If you're pregnant, you're not going to the range, dry fire at home is a great option. I recently did a video about the Mantis Laser Academy, which is a really fun training tool. So if you want to check that out, I'm going to link Mantis below. They have a lot of really cool at-home training systems. That might be a good option for you for 9 months until you can get back to the range. It'll keep your skills up. It doesn't replace live fire, but it will definitely supplement it and make you a better shooter when you do get to go to the range. The last thing I want to mention was actually something that Mac and I were talking about, because I was explaining to him what I was going to do in this video, and he brought up this really great point, and I wanted to share it with you all. And that is teamwork. If you have a husband, a boyfriend, a partner of some type, what is their role in your safety and in the safety of your family? I know sometimes I go out alone or I go out with the kids and my husband's not there. I'm the one that's responsible for our safety. But if we're all together, sometimes that means that I might defer to him to be the one who protects us while maybe I get the kids out of that dangerous situation. It's important to have a discussion with your partner about what would happen if something like that did go down and you had a plan in place. I know that a lot of couples have code words where if there was danger, one of them would say something like pineapple, and then the other one would grab the kids and get away, run away, drive away, whatever, while the other one stays there and deals with the situation. So maybe you can't carry one day because you're pregnant and you just can't figure out a way to be comfortable with a gun on your body, or you're just deferring the task of safety to your partner. You should have plans in place where you know what to do if something does happen, so that you can keep your kids safe while he is dealing with the danger. See, I'm just gonna look at some of your answers here and see if I missed anything. The most common response I got was not knowing how to carry a gun while you're carrying a child, whether it's in one of those baby carriers like a Bjorn or in a wrap. And I don't know, that's Mac was telling me how he was able to carry a baby in a Bjorn and also carry in his holster, but he has such a different body type and he carries here. I can't carry here. That's like really uncomfortable for me and it prints a lot. So I only have like this much space to work with. If I had a baby on my body, it would be like this. So the only thing I can think of that would be comfortable in that situation is a koala bag, and I haven't tried one, but I might get one now that I mention it because it might be interesting to test out. It's a holster, and I'll put a picture of it right here, and it might look a little goofy. I think they're kind of cool, but it sits on your leg and it just looks like a pouch on your leg, so that might be a really good option for you. It will still allow you to carry a gun. You're gonna have to practice that draw a lot, obviously, because it's a different kind of holster than just carrying something in your waistband. But that way the gun is actually on your leg. So that might be a really good option for someone who's carrying a baby. I think I'm gonna get one. If you guys want me to review those, leave me a comment below and let me know, and I'll see if I can get my hands on one because I think those are kind of cool. I just kind of came up with that on the fly, but let me know. I'll do a review if you guys are interested to see that. I think that's it. I hope this video was helpful for you guys. Take charge of your safety and your family's safety because your kids are depending on you. Join the wait list for my class because I'm gonna have so much helpful information in there for you if you're not comfortable carrying yet or you just wanna learn more about guns. And I'll see you guys in the next one. I hope you stay safe. Bye.